I just finished working up this raised bed garden for our carrot trial for fall. Now, carrots are a vegetable that a lot of you folks don't like to grow because you think it's difficult to grow in Oklahoma, or maybe you haven't had very good success with it in the past. But I'll tell you, really, they're not very difficult to grow if you provide the right conditions. They love a raised bed garden where the soil has plenty of organic matter worked into it. The soil is also not compacted, never walked on, has plenty of good depth for the carrots to grow. But even if you're in a tight clay soil, you can select carrot varieties that will do well in your area. This one I'm getting ready to plant is red cord chantenay. The chantenay type carrots tend to only grow about 5 inches long, so they'll do better in a tight clay soil. But if you have a raised bed like ours, you can grow a wide array of carrot varieties. Now, there are several types of carrots. All of them do well in the fall in Oklahoma. In fact, fall's the best time to grow carrots in our soils because the germination temperature that they like is a warm soil. They like around 80 degrees for germination, and they'll be up in about 5 days. And then as the soil cools down, the temperatures get cooler, the carrots that you harvest in mid-November after a couple of frosts will be sweeter tasting than summer harvested carrots. They'll have a brighter orange color, and they'll have a higher vitamin A content. So we think fall grown carrots are the best. We have 5 varieties to put in here that we want to track with you through the fall. In a couple weeks we'll show you how to thin them, how to side dress them with fertilizer, and then at the end of the fall, long about mid-November, we'll pull some up and compare how well they've grown. The variety I'm putting in right now is red cord chantenay. We're also going to be growing Amsterdam finger carrots. Now, although these carrots ultimately get about 5 or 6 inches long, you can harvest these when they're quite young as a little gourmet carrot. Another one we're growing is Danvers Half Long, which is a long recommended variety by OSU. Gets about 6 inches long. Another one is Gold Pack. And then last of all, for you gardeners who have a very deep, well-worked soil, you might try some of the Imperator types, the very, very long carrots that get about 10 inches long. The one we're putting in is Long Imperator number 58. But 2 that I might recommend that have an extra high vitamin A content are A+ and Orlando Gold. I've grown them both in gardens in Oklahoma. They've done beautifully and they taste delicious. Now, some tips on getting carrots to germinate successfully. They do like around 80-degree temperatures, and if your soil is warmer than that, you might want to mulch it over to keep it cool. It helps if you have the soil worked up, get all the lumps out of it, and in your furrows, which ought to be spaced about 4 inches apart, dribble some potting soil in the bottom or some finely milled peat moss and moisten that down. Then sow your carrot seeds and then put another layer of the potting soil on top of that to hold in moisture. Now, some people like to sow their carrot seeds in water the night before planting, and that does help your germination rate. And one trick with carrots, and I think this is where you'll find that you have the most success, is that they must have constant moisture while germinating and until that little taproot gets a few inches down in the soil. And if you've ever had trouble with carrots growing crookedly or being twisted or distorted, chances are either your soil wasn't worked up properly, or you may find that you didn't give them proper moisture from the beginning. Now, they need to be lightly watered every day or have a mulch cover over them to protect them. The next chore on growing carrots is thinning them, and we'll cover that in a few days. That's essential. Carrots need to be spaced about 1 inch or 2 apart as they grow. They're also heavy feeders. If your soil is low in fertility, put some complete fertilizer into the soil, mix it into the soil before you plant. They're heavy feeders on both nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. However, the nitrogen they'll need mostly later on to get good foliage growth on them. Well, I'm going to water these in, plant my other varieties, and in a few weeks we'll come back and see how they're doing. Oh, one more tip. If you're uneasy about watching your carrots come up, or if you find that they're slow to come up, it's more of a problem in the spring really than in the fall, you might want to sow some radish seed as markers. The radish will be up in 3 to 5 days and will show you where your carrot row is. But really for fall planting, they should be up within about 5 days and then you can thin them. Now after I water them, I'm going to mulch over the top, and I'm going to check that every few days just to make sure it stays nice and moist.